There is a moment nobody prepares you for. Not the diagnosis, not the hospital corridors, not the machines, the numbers, the charts. The moment is this. Your hand in theirs, and the dawning awareness that this is not just comfort, this is escort. You are walking them, fingertip by fingertip, toward the edge of this life. Holding someone's hand until the end sounds noble when you say it out loud. I'll be with you. I won't let you be alone. I'll stay right here, I promise. But the reality of it is raw, stranger, harder than anyone tells you. Because your hand is doing two things at once. It is saying, I am here, you are not alone. And at the very same time, it is part of the scene in which they leave. Those two truths sit together, heavy and impossibly to separate. You feel the shape of their fingers. You feel the temperature of their skin. You feel every small squeeze, every tiny movement. You notice things you never paid attention to before. The curve of their nails, the way their thumb always rested in one particular place on your palm. The small scar on their knuckle you've seen 1,000 times, but never really looked at. You are memorizing them because some part of you knows this is one of the last times you will feel this exact touch. At Christmas, this reality feels even more brutal. While the world outside wraps presents, decorates trees, and argues about dinner menus, you are sitting in a chair beside a bed. Your world narrowed down to the square of a pillow, the rhythm of a chest, the weight of a hand in yours. You might hear carols in the corridor as nurses cover a shift. You might see tinsel around a nurse's name badge. You might catch a glimpse of fairy lights reflected in a hospital window. It is surreal. People talk about miracles at Christmas. You are watching a different kind of miracle, that a heart can keep breaking and still keep beating, that you can keep sitting there hour after hour when all you want to do is run from what is coming. Psychology talks about presence as one of the deepest human needs at the end of life. Being witnessed, being accompanied, not vanishing into the dark with no one holding on. You are the one providing that presence, but you pay for it with pieces of yourself. You might have been there from the beginning. Every scan, every we'll see, every let's hope, every we're doing what we can. Or you might have arrived late, pulled in when things suddenly got worse. Either way, you ended up here. Chair, bedside, hand. You become deeply familiar with the sounds of the room. The beeping of monitors, the hiss of oxygen, the shuffle of hospital shoes. The way the door always makes that tiny click when it closes. And underneath it all, like a soft drum, the shallow, uneven sound of their breathing. Your fear focuses on that sound. Is it too fast? Too slow? Is that pause normal? Why did the rhythm change? You watch numbers on screens like a language you never wanted to learn. Your eyes go back and forth. Face, chest, monitor, hand, face again. The hand in yours is your anchor. It's their anchor too. Sometimes they squeeze back. Sometimes their fingers twitch. Sometimes they lie still and you hold on anyway, as if your grip could argue with the inevitable. There's a strange, sacred intimacy in that contact. All the noise of the relationship, the arguments, the misunderstandings, the annoyances, the old frustrations, fades into the background. It is not erased. It just becomes less important, because at the end, it is not about who is right. It's about being there. You might remember all the times that same hand did ordinary things. Stirred a pot, buttoned your shirt, signed your school permission slips, held a steering wheel, waved you off at an airport, wrapped Christmas gifts, pointed at stars, covered their face when they laughed. Now the same hand is limp or cold or desperately holding on. You find yourself stroking their skin in a repetitive motion, thumb over knuckle, over and over, like a private ritual. Sometimes you talk. You say, it's okay, I'm here. You say, I love you. You say, do you remember when? And tell a story from a better time. You say, I'm not going anywhere, even though you know you will have to, eventually. Sometimes you can't talk at all. Your throat closes. Your eyes blur. Words feel too small for what is happening, but you still hold the hand. If you're honest, there are ugly feelings mixed in with the love and the sadness. You might feel angry that you have to be the strong one. You might feel resentful that while others send thinking of you messages from afar, you are the one sitting in this chair for hours, days, watching the person you love slowly fade. You might feel guilty for feeling that way, guilty for needing a break, guilty for wanting to go home, guilty for thinking, I don't know how much more of this I can take. It doesn't mean you love them less. It means you are human, and this is exhausting. You are living in two times at once. In the present, you're holding their hand. In the future, your mind is already imagining the moment when that hand will not be able to hold yours back. You try to push those images away, but they sneak in. The empty bed, the cleared room, the funeral clothes, the grave, the first Christmas without them. The hand in yours is the last thread between those two worlds. There's also the question you might never say out loud. Will I know when it's the last moment? Will there be a signal? A clear line? The truth is, the line is rarely clear. There might be a final breath. There might be a final squeeze. There might be a change in their face that quietly tells you, we are crossing over now. Or there might be nothing dramatic at all, just a slow drifting, a quiet slipping away while your eyes are on the monitor or on the door or wiping your own tears. You might live the rest of your life wondering, what was the exact second? But here is something important. When you hold someone's hand at the end, it is not just the last second that matters. It is all the seconds you stayed, the hours you sat there, the times you adjusted their blanket, the way you wiped their forehead, the way you told them something funny because you wanted them to hear your voice sounding like normal life. Your presence is not measured by the precision of the final breath, but by the fact that you showed up for the whole chapter. At Christmas, people like to wrap things up in neat narratives. He died peacefully, surrounded by family. She wasn't alone. We were all there. These sentences are meant to comfort, and sometimes they do, but they hide the details, the long nights, the whispered arguments in corridors, the tense conversations about treatment, the way you had to step outside because the smell of antiseptic suddenly made you want to scream. They also hide this. Even when you are surrounded by people, the act of holding that hand can feel strangely solitary. You are the one feeling the exact weight of their fingers. You are the one whose palm is pressed into theirs. You are the one watching the tiny changes up close. Others may be in the room, but this contact is yours. That intimate, painful privilege may be something you don't know what to do with afterward. You might feel honored. You might feel traumatized. You might feel both. You might have nightmares where you feel the hand slip out of yours. You might wake up at night reaching for it. You might find yourself rubbing your own fingers, searching for the sensation of bare skin. You might sit in the glow of Christmas lights weeks or years later and suddenly see that room again instead. The bed, the hand, the moment. And you might think, that broke me, but I would still do it again. Because as much as it hurt you, you know what the alternative would have been. Their hand lying there with no one holding it. No one to anchor them. No one to look them in the eye. No one to say, you are not leaving this world unseen. Sometimes they know you're there. They look at you. They squeeze back. They say thank you, or I love you, or just your name. And you can tell it costs them effort they barely have. Sometimes their consciousness has drifted to another kind of place. They might not respond, might not open their eyes, might seem already far away. You might wonder, does it matter that I'm here? Do they know? Do they feel it? You don't get a clear answer. You just keep holding on. But human beings do register touch even when other senses fade. The warmth, the pressure, the familiarity of your hand is a form of communication that doesn't require words or full awareness. You are speaking without speaking. I remember you. I know you. I'm still here. In a way, you are also speaking to yourself, because that hand is not only their hand. It represents your connection, your history, your shared life. Letting go of it when the time comes will feel like letting go of the entire story. If the end happens peacefully, you might feel their hand go slack in yours, a subtle shift that you will never forget. If it happens suddenly, you might feel a jolt, a sound, a change in the room, people moving, someone saying, "It's time." Either way, afterwards there is a moment that leaves a scar, the moment when someone gently asks you to unclasp your fingers. "We need to. Can I? We'll just take," and you realize they're talking about the hand you're still holding. Your body resists. Your mind knows. Your heart feels like it's being torn out of your chest. You loosen your grip more slowly than feels possible. You place their hand back on the sheet. You step away from the bed. This simple movement, letting their hand rest without yours, is one of the quietest and most violent actions your soul will ever perform. It's a choreography you never imagined yourself doing. Afterwards, your own hands will feel different. You might stare at them. You might wash them over and over. You might hold them together as if trying to keep something from leaking out. You might notice during Christmas dinner later that year how it feels to lift a fork, hold a glass, wrap a gift, knowing these hands once held theirs in their last moments. There will be people who do not understand why that detail matters so much to you. They will focus on funerals, on wills, on logistics. But for you, the memory of that hand is the axis. It's where grief circles back again and again. With time, not quickly, not easily, you may begin to see it not just as the moment that tore you apart, but as the place where your love was most clearly visible. You could have avoided it, left it to doctors, nurses, someone else. You could have chosen not to watch the ending, but you didn't. You chose to stay until the last possible second, even though it broke you. You chose to be the person whose hand was there when theirs was leaving. That is not something small. If you could ask them now, from whatever place they are or aren't in, "Did it matter that I stayed?" What do you think they would say? They might not remember the exact words you spoke, the exact stories you told, the decorations in the hallway, the date on the calendar, but they would remember this. They were loved enough that someone held on until the end. At Christmas, when people talk about love in abstract terms, songs and slogans and big gestures, you have a different definition. Love is a chair that hurts your back because you refuse to go home and rest. Love is a hand held long after your muscles go numb. Love is a presence that doesn't flinch, even when the person you're looking at is no longer the version of them you wanted to remember. If you are still facing this, if the end hasn't come yet, but you can feel it approaching, there is something you might need to hear. You do not have to do this perfectly. You don't have to say all the right things. You don't have to stay every second without stepping out to breathe. You don't have to be endlessly calm and saintly. You only have to be there as a real person who loves them. Imperfect, tired, scared, and still choosing to show up. If you step outside to cry in the hallway and feel guilty, remember, your tears do not abandon them. They are part of the love, too. If you go home to shower and sleep and they die while you're gone, remember, the hours you did hold their hand are not erased by the minutes you weren't there. If your last words came out messy or simple or not at all, remember, their understanding of your love was built on years, not seconds. And if this Christmas you find yourself staring at your own hands and thinking, "These held theirs when they died," place one palm over the other and hold on for a moment. You might quietly say to yourself, to them, or to something beyond both of you, "It hurt more than I can ever explain, but I am glad I was there. I am glad my hand was the last one they held." Because in a world where so many people die unnoticed, unseen, or afraid, you did something profoundly human. You stayed. You touched. You bore witness. And even though part of you is still broken from it, that same part is also proof of the depth of your love. The hand you held is gone from this world. The hand you used to hold it is still here. One day, in some small way, you will use that same hand to comfort someone else, to pass a cup, to wipe a tear, to hold another hand shaking with its own grief. In that moment, whether you notice it or not, the love that sat in that hospital room with you will keep moving through you. You held their hand until the end. Now, slowly, gently, you are learning how to hold your own as you live through what came after.